Hey everyone, we'll give it just a second so that everyone can join and we will get started. All right, well, welcome to CNS Connect webinar series. My name is Amy Smith and I'm the Director of Certifications for the BCNS and the ANA. And today I am joined by Autumn Beam, who is going to share her expertise on what to track to improve success and book more clients. Please put any questions that you have in the chat or the Q&A. We're going to start with we're going to have some interactive components and a poll, so we encourage you to participate through the chat. As a reminder, if you're a CNS, you can earn 1 CE for today's presentation, and that's going to be in category number 5, which is professional development. And I'll put a survey in the chat towards the end so you can collect that CEU. So let me introduce our speaker today. Autumn is a CNS and the founder of Hope Wellness Nutrition in Los Angeles. She opened her private practice in 2018 and is a graduate of the University of Bridgeport. Her primary client base includes influencers and those in the entertainment business. Hope Wellness is not her first time owning a business, and her 20-year background in business, marketing, networking, and sales has helped her build a practice and a team. Autumn is passionate about growing a company to create a pathway for CNSs to work together and collaborate under one umbrella. So thank you so much for joining us today, Autumn. I'll let you take it from here. Stop sharing.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be back. This is fun. I love this. And Amy, you're a delight. Don't you guys just love Amy? So I'm going to share my screen here while we're getting started. Can you see that, Amy?
I can.
Okay, perfect. All right. So I'm super excited to be here. That was like a really nice introduction. So thank you. And just, people are probably still joining a few minutes late, but in the meantime, shoot us a quick comment in the chat and tell Amy and I where you're from, where you practice in, what you specialize in, all that stuff. And then Amy, if you wouldn't mind sharing who these lovely people are with me, that would be amazing.
Come on, don't be shy. Put it in the chat.
Come on, guys. They're like shoving food in their mouth because this is probably their lunch or snack break or something, right? So they're like, oh, I don't have hands to type.
So we've got Michigan, Florida. Ashley just passed her exam, woohoo, and is accruing her hours.
Oh, congrats. Awesome.
Jamie from Arizona. We've got Karen from Michigan.
We got 2 from Michigan?
Yeah, we got from Colorado. Oh, just moved to Colorado from London. Virginia,
awesome.
Virginia, Montana.
Awesome. All over. That's really great. Awesome. Well, okay, cool. Well, thanks everybody for coming and hanging out with us during this hour. So this is going to be like super casual, like super cash. Okay. So we're going to go through some fun stuff. I'm going to share my screen with a bunch of stuff to give you guys some ideas, and just keeping in mind that this is what I do may not, bits and pieces of it may work for you, and bits and pieces may not, but this is to help give you ideas and to help you sort of fit things into what works for your practice personally. So I'm just going to share what works for me. Take what you will. So we're going to talk about what to track to help you convert more potential clients to actual paying clients. And I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that I do this. There's like a few different things. And so you can use all the ideas if you want. That would be fun. But you'll see what you like. So you'll be able to figure out what aspects work for you. And if nothing else, I'm hoping that you at least leave with some ideas. And of course, any questions you guys have, I'll either stop and say, hey, any questions so far, or we'll do questions at the end. But feel free as you have questions. Is that okay, Amy? Is there a Q&A part where they could just pop in the question and so you have a list of questions, or does it get lost in the chat?
Nope, I can totally keep track. So they can put them in the Q&A preferably, or the chat, but I'll keep track of both.
All right, perfect. So try to put them in the Q&A if you're doing it while I'm talking. And at the end, it probably won't matter either way. But Yeah, so I'm going to take a step further from just like showing you what to track, but also how you can translate that tracking into estimating your revenue as well for the year, because it's nice to kind of figure out, well, what might my paycheck look like this year, or what might my revenue look like this year. So the reason I want to talk to you about tracking things today is because I want to help you stay organized with information. It can be really easy to start to lose track of information. And if you have Post-its all over the place, you can get lost. If you're writing little bitty notes, you're like, wait, who was that again? And what was that? And then things kind of just like start to fall apart once that starts to happen. So having it all in one location can be really helpful. So I want you to help stay organized. We don't want those potential clients to fall through the cracks. And I also hope, to offer some perspective today on managing leads and communication. So before we dive in, Amy is going to throw up a quick poll to give us an idea of where everyone is at who's joining us today. When it pops up on your screen, go ahead and select the answer that best describes where you're at. And my email is binging at me, so I'm going to close that.
Awesome. Everybody's answering. So give it just a second here. We'll see what the results are.
Okay, great.
All right. So it looks like I'm waiting on one person. So it looks like 46% said they currently do not independently keep track of leads. About 30% said they track one or two things, and about 30%, so tied for the last two options, they track things on their own but want to make it more efficient. So
Perfect.
pretty close.
Okay.
30% to 43%. Yeah. Not so pretty close in all three of them.
Yeah, so we're kind of a little something for everyone here, I think, is what we're going to end up having. So that's really great. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to discuss the kinds of things you may want to think about when it comes to think about to track at all. And so some of you who are already kind of tracking a few things, I'm hoping to give you some more ideas on how we can expand maybe what you're already doing. And then we'll discuss like why tracking those things is helpful. Like why do we need to do this? Why is this even important? And we'll also discuss different types of leads. And then lastly, I'll show you what the tracking can sort of look like. And I'll try to leave as much time as I can at the end to answer questions. So feel free to submit questions. Again, if you're just joining us, there's a Q&A little question thing at the bottom, I think, and then just shoot the questions in Q&A. You don't have to wait till the end. If something pops up and you have a question, go ahead and submit it. If I stop, Amy can read some. If not, we'll do it at the end. So thanks, Amy. Thanks, Amy, for your participation. So remember that what paying clients represent, okay? Paying clients represent more than just money in the bank. They represent someone who wants to work on their changing health trajectory, right? And a successful paying client means one more person we're working on helping to achieve their optimal health. So that's what should primarily motivate us to track and book more clients. However, on the flip side, if you're not bringing in adequate revenue, you will likely struggle to maintain a business that can further help others. So it's a bit of a dance on both sides, and I think your why and the reason you got into this, that's going to be your primary motivator. But then we also want to have this data so that we can make sure we're actually making enough money to continue to stay in business, right? It can be really informative data. So we'll talk about that. So let's talk about the kinds of things that are important to track in order to make sure that you're converting more potential clients into paying clients. So first, what to track, okay? Discovery calls, dates, notes of results. Did it result in a booking or not? Those are things that you want to track. Referral partners, you want to have a list of their names and their contact info in one central location. And part of the reason that's helpful is that you're not trying to remember, like, what was their email? What was their web address? Once you end up getting more and more referral partners over the years, you start to realize that you maybe don't remember the name of their business, but you remember them. You're like, I know this doctor, but I forgot what their business is called. And then you're trying to like give them, refer patients out, and you can't remember their information. And then if you ever have a staff, if you ever, decide to grow your business and you want to have a staff, then you might need a centralized location where you have all these people listed so that your staff can then access that information. all leads, any leads, and I'll talk to you about what those are in a second. Discovery call conversion. So what a discovery call conversion is, it's when you had a discovery call and they went in that moment from a potential client to a paying client. And so they said, yes, I want to work with you. They gave you their credit card number, you charged their card, and now they're your client. That is a conversion. Okay. And then if you have packages or memberships or anything like that. Some of you I know are just doing one-on-one appointments, kind of one-off appointments, and you don't really do packages. Some of you do. Some of you have membership programs. Some of you have online programs. So tracking those conversions is really helpful. So for example, if you have a initial package that you offer, whether it's like 4 sessions, 8 sessions, whatever it is that you do, and then they want to keep working with you past that initial session, whether you roll it into a different kind of package or whether you're rolling it into a membership program, you want to track those conversions too, so that if people are they staying with you, and knowing the longevity of your clients and their relationship with you is really, really helpful. So let's talk about what leads are. So leads are any potential clients, no matter how they found you. So that's going to be if they came as referrals from a referral partner, if they were an email inquiry, they found, they found your website online, they found you on social media, and they sent you a message. That's a lead. Third-party referral sites. So if you have your company or yourself on things like ZocDoc or Health Profs, that's a lead generation website. Friends or people you talk to while you're out and about. So if you are a member of the PTA or a running club or whatever, and you get into conversations and they're like, oh, what do you do for a living? And you start talking about it and they're like, oh, this is very interesting. I want to learn more about that. My mom was looking for somebody like that, blah, blah, blah. My best friend was looking for somebody. That best friend is a lead. Okay. Write that person's name down. Previous discovery calls, that didn't result in a paid booking. That's a lead of sorts, for some people in the discovery call, in the moment, they maybe have given you a no, but a no isn't necessarily a no forever. Sometimes it's a not right now. So we want to keep track of people we've had discovery calls who have not turned into paying clients at that time. And previous clients, people who have fallen off, people who worked with you for a while and they kind of ghosted you. It's not uncommon for them to come back and be like, I got into my bad habits again and I need help. And, and then they want to come back. So we don't want to lose track of those people and view them as a total loss, keep them on sort of your top of mind. And then any other situations. So, and just as a note, there are different EMR companies like Healthy or Practice Better, which do run some reports to help give you some of this information. They can help you track how many sessions or packages or programs you've sold. They can show you like how many discovery calls you had. I don't know that it's sophisticated enough to show you the discovery calls that then turn into a paid client. You'd probably have to run a report on your packages or your initial consults against your discovery call list and then try to match up their names. And that's a lot of work. So we want to make it a little bit more efficient than that. But I know that those reports actually do exist. So they can help, but they may not track it all the way, like I said. So you may want to view the data, but definitely poke around and see what in their reporting that they offer that you find useful. Especially if you haven't really started exploring reports now, know that those options are available to you in a lot of these types of services. So let's talk about why we want to track this information. So first, you don't want to lose track of potential clients that you need to follow up with. I've had clients I just booked a client who contacted me. I booked him like a couple weeks ago and he contacted me at the beginning of January. It may have been the end of December, so you need to remember who these people are that you talked to 6 or 8 months ago and keep following up with them. So remember that, like I said, like a no in the moment may not be a no right now. The client that booked with me, 6, 7 months later, his situation was that he was having back surgery and then he was traveling overseas and then he caught COVID and then his family caught his COVID. And it was like this whole thing where just one thing after the other, it was just not convenient time to start, but we kept in touch and boom, 6 months later, there he was. So when you don't convert right away, it's okay to follow up with the client later to see if it's a better time, unless they've explicitly told you it is not a good fit. I will never work with you, that's a pretty hard no. So then we can, kind of take them off of our follow-up list. But I recommend continuing to follow up with them directly up to a year out if they said no, and sometimes longer than a year. Then after that, just keep them on your newsletter list, because if you're writing a newsletter every month and you haven't talked to them in a year, they're still in touch with you, so to speak, with your newsletter. Number 2, keep track of your referral partners. It helps to keep them top of mind. Who they are, why haven't they referred to you in a while if they haven't sent anybody to you? Maybe they forgot about you. I had this one referral partner who I thought we had this great relationship. He was referring people to me for a while, and then he completely stopped referring people to me. And what I realized is that this dude was so busy that he forgot that I existed. And then when I contacted him about it, just so happened that somebody else referred me a patient that he was also seeing, but he needed to be involved. So we looped him in, and then he was like, oh yeah, here you are. And boom, he's referring clients again. So it's just, they don't always remember you. These people are so busy. So it's not that they don't like you, but you have to kind of keep in touch with them to kind of make sure that they know that you're there. And offer if there's anything that you can do to help support them, support their patients, anything like that. So it's a good reminder that you exist. Referral partners are just busy, so don't let them forget about you. Number 3, casual conversations at social events, PTA meetings, wherever. These are leads. Write down every potential lead. Don't forget. You can even like create a note in your phone, like in your notes app. And just anytime you come into contact, write it down on your phone right away. Pretend you're sending a text message. You're like, oh, really? Tell me more about your mom and your best friend, as you're writing their name down in your notes app. So number 4, some clients take a break. They get busy, but often, they have that burning desire with their busy lives to kind of get back on track with their health and their health goals. So keep a list of clients who have fallen off, regardless. So if you have like an email system, for instance, I have my Practice Better connected to my my email thing, ConvertKit. I use ConvertKit. You might use ActiveCampaign, you might use MailChimp, something else, but Zapier can actually add tags to these clients. So anytime a client comes into my Practice Better system, asks for a discovery call, it triggers a Zapier zap and it zaps into my email. So they're now on my email list, and it even tags them with, hey, they signed up for a discovery call. So then later I can go back and use that tag on that list and say, who are all my people this year who had a discovery call? And I also have a zap so that if they book something, it takes that tag off and puts on the new tag. So let's say client had a discovery call and they went into my email system with a tag that they had a discovery call, but then that client booked and became a client. Well, now I have a second zap that says, okay, they booked a package. Now it takes off that discovery call tag and puts on the package tag, so that now I can see that they're paying client. So these are ways that you can kind of track people too by using some of these email tags and things like that. That was just a bonus that I didn't even plan to tell you about that. So number 5, you want to track conversions of sales from discovery calls or initial packages. You want to track these sales because you want to know how well your booking conversions are going. So let's talk about this for just a second. So we can use the term booking and sales sort of like interchangeably. A lot of people, especially who don't have a sales background, hate the word sales because they don't want to be associated with a salesperson, because lots of feelings come up when you say the word sales. But so I'm going to soften the blow by calling it a booking, right? So when we get a client that wants to work with us and they're a good fit and we sell them a package, now we have a booking. Okay. So that average booking rate in all of sales and booking across the country in many different fields is 27%. So that is about 1 booking for every 4 discovery calls if you are an average booker. Okay. So if you are booking less than that, for instance, if you have 1 booking for every 6 discovery calls that you're doing, it is time to reevaluate your discovery call conversations, because there may be a bunch of stuff that you should be talking about in these discovery calls that you're not talking about, or things that you're missing in that discovery call conversation that can really make the difference. So it's really important that you track this so you know, how well am I doing, and it maybe if you're a type A go-getter, you might be like, I don't want to be average. I want to be above average. So I want my booking rate to be 75%, which is really high. So, then you want to keep track and know, hey, are you hitting those goals? So if you're booking, more than 27%, then you're rocking and rolling, and that's really great. It also informs how many leads you might need. So if you're like, okay, if you're an average person booker and you're saying, okay, I am booking 1 in every 4 discovery calls, then then you kind of want to know, what don't I know? What don't I know about the sales process? What should I be doing differently? And then you can seek out that sort of that information. So that's really helpful. So let's talk about lead types and expectations. So there are 2 main types of leads that we're going to talk about. There are warm leads and there are cold leads. So warm leads are generally your referral leads. So if a friend or a referral partner referred them to you and they got in touch with you because, somebody referring somebody to you, whether it's a friend or whether it's a referral partner, that's like somebody finding you on Google with 5 stars. You're a 5-star person in their mind because someone took the time to refer to you, which is a really huge compliment. So they're already halfway there. The person who referred them has already half sold them on you and your services. So half the work is done. It's like finding a nutritionist with 1,000 reviews, 5-star reviews on Google. It's super valuable. Warm leads are they're great for your business, and they are the absolute best quality leads because, like I said, they're halfway there already. So warm leads are also people with whom you've already spoken to in the past. So a previous discovery call or a person you've casually talked to, people in person. Those are warm leads. People who have already shown you interest in the past. Let's talk about cold leads. So cold leads are kind of more indirect leads. They are people who don't already have a connection to you. These are leads that come from internet searches, meaning that they found your website and then they sent you an email and asked you about it. Third-party websites such as ZocDoc, social media, if they saw you on Instagram, or if you're on Threads now, maybe they found you on Threads. So social media can become a warm lead. It's a little bit both, because if they've been following you on social media for a while, you might have built what we call that KLT, that know, like, and trust factor, where they've been following you for so long, they're already totally sold on how awesome you are because you've been consistently posting, and if you're doing this is not required as a business owner. But if you're doing that, you're building that know, like, and trust factor, and then they kind of become a warm lead. Let's say if they just kind of stopped on your social media one time and went, oh, that's interesting, and then they emailed you, that's still more of a cold lead because they haven't really gotten to know you or your business or anything like that, or your philosophy, nothing like that yet. So, you haven't developed that trust with them. So the point in knowing what type of lead that you have is that it really sets you up to know what to expect before you get on the call. So if you have an intake form, let's say like before they book a discovery call, there's an intake form that they have to fill out so you can kind of get to know who you're getting on the phone with. Always ask on the form how they found out about you. Because if it's a warm lead and they're like, oh, I found you from a friend, you're going into a warm lead conversation. Okay. If you're going into somebody who's like, oh, I found you, I Googled you and found you, then you're like, okay, this is going to be a little bit more work and a little bit harder sell, because they don't know you at all. And they may not have any expectations on pricing and different things like that. So it can be a little bit hard. They don't know what to expect. So if they're a warm lead, they already have a personal reference, and that goes a long way. Those are an easier sell. So it's easier to not be as hard on yourself when you have a discovery call that doesn't end in a booking, when you kind of get an idea of who you were talking to. And sometimes it can be a warm lead, but they just weren't the right fit for you. So, it's important to look at these numbers and know how well you're doing, but it's also important to understand the situation. If you're an average booker and you've booked 1 out of 4, looking at those other 3, if 2 of them were a cold lead and 1 of them was a warm lead that called you about something you don't specialize in, okay, well, let's not beat ourselves up about that or anything if in fact you are, because of something like that. So we're going to jump into some examples. So I'm going to go through a couple of spreadsheets with you, and don't be scared by the spreadsheets. Okay. I'm going to show you how tracking can look for you and your business. And these are real leads that I have in here, but I have changed the names for their privacy. You may recognize some of the names, but they are not real in terms of my clients. But also I want to note that you may or may not be familiar with Excel or similar programs, Google Sheets, or whatever the Apple version is, I forget. And that's okay. So you can still track these things to some degree in a notebook and on pen and paper, whatever kind of works for you. I would encourage you, if you're doing the analog version, that you would get a notebook and keep everything in one notebook. That way you aren't running into that thing where you have Post-its and a bunch of different notebooks everywhere. So try to keep it all in one. The thing that makes Excel really great is that you can automate things. So one thing can have a domino effect on a bunch of different cells, depending on, you know, how you set it up and how familiar you are with it, and things can automatically calculate. You'll see in a minute what I'm talking about. And so I do have someone who does these things for an hourly rate. So if you're like, this is amazing, I want this, then you guys can, you know, I'll throw my email out at the end and you can contact me and I can get you in touch. And you can get one made for yourself. So let's talk about our lead tracker here. Let's see. Oop, let me try to get out of here. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna try to make this bigger. Amy, can you tell me if you can see this okay? I can kind of zoom in.
I can see it, but it's very small.
How's that? Is that better?
Better there. Yep,
okay.
That's
perfect. Oh, sorry. I have this magic mouse thing that if I accidentally tap it, it will like zoom in, and I just tapped it on accident, but this is okay. Okay, so you see, this is my Excel sheet. You can see at the bottom, I have 3 different tabs. So we have our warm lead tracker, our referral tracker, and our referral partners in this particular sheet. So I'm just going to start with the warm lead tracker. So, I mean, I call it the warm lead tracker, but I also put cold leads on here because I don't really have another cold lead tracker. So, you know, whatever, lead tracker. Let's call it lead tracker. And so here we have, you know, our last name and our first name of our client, Peter Parker. We have Clint Barton, otherwise known as Hawkeye. We have a bunch of other people that you might recognize here. So, you know, we have their email address and their phone number. Found in California, the lead source, I put in lead source here so I know where they came from. So we have, you know, Wanda came from Google and She-Hulk came from Google. These other people came from, you know, other clients or a friend who happens to know me through the grapevine or something else. So it kind of gives you an idea of who these leads actually were and their reason for contacting. So Peter Parker, he was a previous client, and he maybe might be a returning member because he mentioned wanting to come back, you know, wants to work on the calories for all that exercise he's doing. A couple more sports nutrition, you know, you kind of just put it high uric acid, abnormal cholesterol. So these are things that people might come to you for, and just, you know, writing a little note about that helps you remember, because you think the more and more clients and the more and more leads you get, the more they all start running together and you start forgetting who they are. So keeping good notes is really important. So the date that I put this note about the returning member was, you know, January 3rd of this year. Was a discovery call booked? No, it wasn't, because he's a returning member. He had a discovery call a long time ago. This doesn't apply to him. But all these people here, these all booked discovery calls with me. And there are all the dates, the date of the discovery call. Did they end up booking? You know, did they end up becoming a paid client? Yes, they did. So let's say if they didn't, and I put no, then that color is going to change. So that's going to help me keep track. But in actuality, they did. And so so I didn't do, dang it, sorry about this. I tapped the thing again. Technology. Okay, so this one has contact attempt 1, okay? I have 3 contact attempts here because contacting them just once is really not enough. Even contacting them twice, people are busy. 3 is kind of my limit. I usually try to contact people once a week for 3 weeks. And so the last time I tried to contact Peter Parker was on the 23rd, and, you know, future follow-up date, I put September because guess what? He went underground because there was a leaked video and he had to leave. So, I'm not able to get in touch with him. So if you have not followed Marvel, you have no idea what I'm talking about right now, but in general, just understand the concept of the notes here. Okay, the referral tracker is really similar. I'm going to make this bigger for you. So we have Steve Rogers, and we have Stephen Strange, and Carol Danvers, and Natasha Romanoff, and Pepper Potts. So all of these people, were referred to me by a referral partner. So I put who they were referred to. So they like Natasha, she was referred to Rebecca, who's on my staff. The rest were referred to me. We have the referring physician or the party. They may not be physician, they might be a massage therapist, whatever they are. And so I put who referred them. And these are all fake names of doctors. These are all real referral partners that I have, but they're all fake names for them in this example. Why they referred them to me. Usually they'll let me know ahead of time. Did they book a discovery call? Here's the date of the discovery call. I missed that one, but did they book? Yes, they did. They did book, and there are some past dates here on contact attempts, and it tells me if it's overdue. Like if it's been 2 weeks now, I'm like, shoot, I should have followed up with that person. I got busy. Then it kind of goes overdue. And then it reminds me, and when I open up this tab, I can look at the overdue ones and go, those are the people I need to contact first. This one, it has flagged physician notification. This is if I've tried to contact them 3 times and I haven't been able to get a hold of them. I put this in here as an example, even though this person booked, because the physician may want to know if they didn't get a hold of me, because the next time they see them, they may say, hey, I know Autumn was trying to get in touch with you. How's that going? And they can kind of check in. So then I put the date. I didn't do it for this one, but the date that is completed, and then that flag button will go away. If I decide I need a future follow-up date, we put it there. But these are all of our notes. So, and then like Natasha, she no-showed me for the discovery call. She had it set up, but she texted me that she had a work emergency and she asked to reschedule, and she was going to Vormir. And I haven't heard from her since. So that was the last time, I was able to get a hold of her. But there is that example. And then on my last one, I'll just show you this really quickly, and then we'll stop for questions. We have all the names of my referral partners that I have, what kind of area they're in, where they're located, and then their contact information I can keep here. They're my partner. And then the date of last referral. This actually, this isn't connected right now, but this is normally connected to the referral tracker. So when I have the date of referral here, it'll actually pull through to this page and show the last time they referred someone to me. And then it can calculate to the total amount of referral sent. So you can kind of keep track of all of this. Amy, do we have any questions? I know I don't know if I ran through this too fast, but I'm happy to go back if anybody was like, wait, slow down, what? Let me know.
We do have a couple questions. So Yana asks, any other preferable or better software than Practice Better?
They're asking if there's any preferable software for a client management system?
I'm guessing. I don't know. That's all it says. So Yana, if you want to give us some more details about exactly what you're asking as far as software, we can come back to that one.
Yeah, just comment in the chat or something to clarify that question. I want to make sure I understand what you're asking. And let's skip that and go to another one just in case.
Okay. And you might, I don't know if you're going to cover this or not, but there was questions about how to solicit or generate leads. Where do you go to generate leads?
Sure. Well, let's come back to that at the end for sure.
Okay. And then Chiara was going to ask about the spreadsheets, which you're showing. So we got that. What is the best way, from your experience, to contact a physician so they would like to continue the conversation with you for referrals?
That is a phenomenal question. So the way that I've done it in the past, I always try to have a connection already with a physician. So what I will typically do is if I'm working with a client and they're having really great success and they also like their GI doctor they're working with or their allergist or whatever, then I'll say, hey, I would love to share your successes with your practitioner, since we, assuming that they're related, like I'm not going to, if someone's cholesterol went down, I'm not going to tell their allergist, that's more a primary care thing. But let's say they came to me for food sensitivities, allergist couldn't totally figure it out. And so they found me somehow, and now we're having successes, and we did some of the testing that I do. And then what I can do then is say, hey, can you do an e introduction, which means if they have their email or their contact information, then they copy both of us on the email and introduce us to each other. And then I kind of take it from there, and then I'll set up a Zoom with them and be like, hey, I would love to show your client's progress, and you're going to be really excited about it, and kind of show you what we did and then where our successes were and what we're still working on now. And that starts building the relationship with that provider so that they know about you. And then you can kind of be like, hey, by the way, if you happen to have anybody else, I have this tool. This is something that I use. I have a checklist. I have a nutrient checklist that I've customized a bunch of different ones, sort of connected to their specialty. So if it's, allergy or primary care or an immunologist or something like that. So I have an immune one, I have a hormone one for my gynecologist. And basically it's a one sheet where there, you categorize symptoms, like kind of like we do our nutrition focused physical exam and things like that. And so we have hair and eyes and nails and, generalized symptoms, hormone symptoms, and it might have things like PMS and cramps, and it might have dry skin, dry eyes, white spots in the nails. And basically it's something that already has my company information on it with my phone number, my email, all that, my website. So the provider can print it out and say, let's see if this is an issue. And the patient just checks a bunch of stuff off. And I kind of guide the practitioner to like, this is how you read this checklist. And then if they have like so many of them checked off, then it's a good time to refer them to a nutritionist. And so that's kind of like, I teach them about this, and then they go, oh, I didn't know that this was connected to that, nutritionally, because especially the doctors who are very open, they'll admit when they have learned something new from you. And then they'll get really excited. And, and the other thing to know is not every practitioner is interested in working with you. Like maybe they already have a dietitian or somebody else that they refer to. So they're not all going to be winners in terms of, developing that referral relationship. But that's generally how I try to sort of reach out to those practitioners. I have not had to do any kind of cold calling is what we call it, when you kind of just like find a doctor online and say, hey, do you need a nutritionist? That's more of a cold call. They don't have a relationship with you. There's nothing between, there's nothing connecting you. So that's a bit harder to get in touch with those people. It's not impossible, and you can develop referral relationships that way. It's a little bit harder, but definitely utilizing your clients that you already have and the practitioners that they like, because then maybe you actually want to work with the ones that they like. You probably don't want to work with the ones that they don't like. So that was kind of a long-winded answer to that question. That's kind of one way that I do it. Any other questions, Amy?
We did have Yana did come back and say that she was talking about software practice in general. So is Practice Better or any others that you can recommend? And I would say that most CNSs use Practice Better from my experience, but there are others, Healthy.
I've heard of, I only have experience with Healthy and Practice Better. I don't have any personal experience with the other ones, but Practice Better does such an amazing job that I couldn't even imagine. It's hard for me to imagine anybody doing it much better with the way that I want to run my business. So there may be ways that other people want to run their businesses and it doesn't work that way. But for me, it's like, I couldn't imagine anything better. I got a trial with Healthy, and it was just not for me, but that's me personally. I know other people who use Healthy and like it. So I think it just depends.
Great. So that was the end of the questions for now.
Sweet. Okay. So I will move on to discussing discovery calls. So let me make this one bigger too. La, la, la. Okay. So this is all of these, clients that I have had. Most of these ones from January are people who are in memberships that are carrying over from the year before. I do a new spreadsheet every year for tracking purposes for revenue for that year. So revenue in January is going to include all of my membership programs that I currently have that are active. So we have the name, we have their referral source, we have status. Yes means did they book the discovery call? And it's like, yes, they did book from the discovery call. And then they signed up in a certain month. Did they pay you? Yes. And these yeses trigger certain things in this spreadsheet. And then first non-payment month, this generally applies to memberships, not not programs or packages, because packages have a finite amount of time that they are open. And the memberships can be ongoing until you turn it off. So for some of these people who ended, they ended because they were on, this one was on a membership plus, and a membership plus for me is seeing me twice a month. A membership is seeing me once a month. And so some people had really, really good success. And so we dropped them down to a membership versus a membership plus. And so I actually put them in again down here. So as a new one, just to help you track the revenue. I hope that made sense. But yeah, so you see these people are all memberships, and I'll hit one of these drop down menus. You can see all of the different options. So we have the 3-month program, 3-month program with payment plan, a 3-month program with I have a friends and family discount for people just for that program. We have our membership plus, a 6-session package, a basic package, and a 30-minute add-on. That's for people who are like in a membership program, but they want to see me in extra time, then they get that 30-minute add-on. Yours might look different. You might have 30-minute sessions, you might have 1-hour sessions, you might have an initial consult. Those might be the programs that you have. And then you would select those things. And then you would put in what month they started. And let me show you I'm going to go to the sales tracker, because we were talking about tracking discovery calls. So you can track your discovery call rate. So I had 11 members change over from January. So the number of membership calls, 11 number of membership call conversions, meaning did they stay members? Yes. That means my conversion rate is 100%. Remember how we were talking about the 27% is the average? So that's what it looked like. So in February, I had number of discovery calls. I had 4 discovery calls. I converted all 4. So my booking rate is 100%. I didn't have any discovery calls here in March. In April, I had 1 and I booked it. So it's 100%. And then here, a membership call, meaning someone's package was ending. And so now they turned into a member. And so they did convert. So 100%, and then on and on. So you can kind of see. So this one, we have our 75% rate here. It's I have it set to turn red when it goes below 50%. So this text would actually turn into red, but right now we're at 75, so it's still green. So I can look at this and I can say, hey, I had 1 person not convert. What happened there? I can go back to my data entry about my discovery call, and I could say highly likely to convert, which means I think they're going to become a paying client. They just, have a reason why they're waiting. And I look over at my notes and I say needs a few weeks due to the death of a pet, follow up mid-July. So we're going to call her back. So that is sort of how I can track how well I'm doing with my discovery calls. And these are just some examples. Now let's talk about, I told you the bonus. We're going to talk about revenue and how you can track revenue. So what I have here, this is kind of where everything is pulling from. So I have all of my programs here. And so these are all made up amounts. These are not my actual prices that I charge, but let's say I'm charging $1,000 for my 3-month program. Whenever I put a 3-month program here, then it's going to pull through on my financial health page on the first page, and it's going to show me, hey, I sold 3 3-month programs in February, and then I had all these memberships going, and I sold a basic package, so that was my 4th one in February. This is my supplement revenue, and then this is how much money, my pretend money that I made in February. And so these are your actuals. So here you can see this is how much money you actually made. And then you can project, you can say, hey, these are my goals. This is how much money I would like to make. And then at the bottom here, it's going to show you, this is pulling for June, because this actually is, this is a pull down menu. You can pick different months. So for June, it can show, hey, this was my actual, how much money I brought in the month of June. This is what I thought I was going to bring in. Hey, I brought in $1,100 more than I thought. Awesome. And then actual is year to date. I brought in $19,000 in revenue. I was projecting 16,000, and guess what? I'm almost 3,000 in the black. So that's really awesome. So being able to kind of track all these things, all of these sheets talk to each other. And so that's why all these numbers are here. So it actually generates that revenue on that first page. So I know exactly how I'm doing. Now I have a goals calculator here too, that shows me, okay, I have $1,000 for my 3-month program. I want to sell 18 of those this year, which will bring me revenue of $18,000 in that category. And I can make projections based on the year before here and make goals, and it'll calculate how much revenue I'll bring in from each one of those things. And then at the top, it shows me my projection for the year of what my revenue would be if I did all of these things successfully. So that may feel like a lot for you guys. There's a lot of different spreadsheets and sheets and different things. And, you may not be an Excel whiz in terms of how to make all of these things connect. You might look at this and go, holy cow, there's no way I know how to do that. And you might not know how to do that. That's fine that you don't know how to do that. So you can find somebody, maybe you have a partner or a friend who happens to be a Excel whiz, and you can kind of give them an idea of what you need and they can help you put it together. I have somebody, like I said, who can put this together for you, and I'm happy to share their information. They do it as a side hustle and make money on the side to do stuff like this because they are like an Excel nerd and it's just what they like to do. And if nothing else, you can track, especially going back to this warm leads sheet right here, when you're tracking your warm leads, could you do it where it changes colors and automatically when you do something and the dates connect so that it tells you if it's overdue? Sure, you could do all of that if you know how to do it. And if you don't, you could type it in manually and just kind of do it yourself. But this gives you one single place and to put all of this information so that you can just keep track of everything. Because if you think you're going to remember something a week later, you might have completely forgotten it. And then you lose a lead that you could have followed up on and turned them into a paying client. So having these different things that you can track can, in fact, help you book more clients, pull in more revenue, help more people. So with that is the end of what I have. I wanted to leave time for questions. If anybody has any questions about any of this, I am happy. And then there were some other questions we were leaving for the end too, Amy, that people were asking about lead gen and stuff like that.
Yep, that's the only question I have right now is just still the lead generation question. But I will keep my eye out to see if anybody else has any others.
No problem. And if you guys want, if your question is like, hey, can you go back and show me that one part that you were talking about? Or, hey, I was confused about the what's the word? The overdue part, all of that, just like throw that in the question and say, I will, that's why I'm still sharing my screen so I can go back and I could show it again, just in case I was going through it too quickly. So don't be afraid to go back to that. Or to ask me for clarification or anything like that. Amy, you said the question was, where do I get leads?
Essentially, yes.
Okay. Referral partners are a big one. That kind of just takes time. I have built my referral partner list over 6 years. So right now, if you're new at it, I would kind of think about starting with the people that you know. Like, do you have a friend who's a dentist? Do you have a dentist? Do you have a primary care doctor that you like? Think about the people who are already in your life as far as the referral partner stuff goes, and kind of, start to tap into the people that you already sort of have. Social media, I'm not going to say social media is a bad thing to do. Social media just takes time and it takes consistency to really start to get to roll with it. And the leads on social media are, depending on how you run your social media, sometimes can be not great quality leads. So I generally like to tell people that's a great thing to do as you get more time and kind of start doing it. But really, in order to get leads to begin with, I definitely would start with who you know. That means like using your Facebook page, if you're on Facebook, is really helpful. I feel like Facebook can work a little bit better than Instagram sometimes. but I know not everybody's on Facebook anymore. But it's just the way the community sort of works. Being able to talk a little bit about what you do could garner some questions from people, and things like that. And where else have I gotten leads from? A lot of friends and family have sent me people, a lot of referral partners. I haven't found that third party things like Health Profs and ZocDoc and things like that give good quality leads, that actually, and here's what I'm going to say. There could be somebody on here who's had a really great experience with it and like, oh, I got this great client from there. But generally, unless you're paying for ads through them, that's how they, a lot of times if they're not charging a membership fee, or or you're trying to make more money, you have to pay to have like sponsored ads within these web pages, and so people see you more often, and that can help. But some of these sites, like, they're cold leads in general, so they're not the best quality. Let me go back to when I was talking about my warm leads. So yeah, your internet searches, your third-party sites, your social media, those are going to be cold leads. So that's why I say, like, spend more time on where you can find warm leads. So, and it's okay, you guys, it's totally okay to ask your current clients for referrals. Like, when you are ending your call with your current client and say, I wouldn't necessarily go with like, hey, I'm looking for more clients, because then that makes you sound kind of desperate. I would say, like, hey, I have a few spots that opened up on my calendar, and I'm, and I want to give other people opportunity to take those spots. So I just want to let you know, was there anyone that you could think of that maybe said something about nutrition, or that maybe you overheard them say something about, looking for something like this? And they might say, no, I'll think about it. And then they might say, oh yeah, I was talking, my aunt the other day was saying blah, blah, blah. So you never know, just having some of those conversations with your current clients can be really helpful. Using your email list. If you start, even if the email list is small, even if you have like 40 people on your email list and it's small, that's going to grow over time, you guys. It's totally fine if your email list is small right now. But if some of that list is not just current clients or past clients or discovery calls that didn't book for, whatever reason that isn't a complete no, utilize that and say, hey, we a few spots opened up. Here's what we're doing. One suggestion that I got a while back for those kinds of clients was to do a free 30-minute back on track session where you can, the funny thing is I ran this and I didn't get a single booking from it. But once the period had ended where I was going to offer it, all of a sudden I got all these calls from people who were like, oh yeah, I saw your thing about the free session and I was just busy. Can we do a discovery call? And then I got like 4 or 5 clients from it. It was crazy, but it was after the free thing. They didn't even take the free thing. So even just throwing something out there, even if it doesn't work out, you guys, like, you never know what can happen from those kinds of things. So it was really kind of funny. But don't be afraid to ask your friends out there, hey, I had a few spots that opened up on my calendar, if you have referral partners and you haven't talked to them in a while, or spend some time going and go through your client files and see who had people that you had successes with and reach out to those people. Those are some of the best things that you can do. So warm leads, like I said, are the best quality leads. They're the people who kind of get you halfway there. And so think about people that you know in your life and who they can kind of connect you to. And sometimes it's not the person that you're directly talking to. It may be a group of people that they know. Like, what if they're in some sort of running group and you specialize in sports nutrition? Okay, maybe some of the runners might be interested in that. Maybe you can make some postcards for her to take to her next running club meeting. Those kinds of things. So definitely utilize the people in your life. Not to use them. I mean, we don't want to be one of those people, right? It was like, oh, you're just calling me because you need something. You don't want to be that person. But just think about that, like who the right people are in that circumstances.
Awesome. So, that was the end of the question.
No other questions. We're done.
I put the CE survey in the chat and a link for upcoming webinars, so everyone check that out. And if we have no more questions, then I guess that's it. Thank you, Autumn, so much. This was awesome. There was a lot of information, but it was
awesome. My email. We can throw my email in the chat. That's right. So let me see. Can I do that? I guess I can.
Yeah, you should be able to throw it in the chat, and if not, I can do it. And then anyone who registered for the webinar will get the recording. So make sure you can rewatch this, or it'll be on the website if you need to rewatch it.
No, I don't think it went to everybody. Hold on. I think I did to hosts.
Yeah.
Whoops. All right, there we go. Now people can have my email. So
awesome.
You are well done.
Thank you so much, Autumn. This was awesome. And reach out if anybody has questions.
Yeah, for sure. I guess I can stop sharing now.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye. Thanks for coming.